I published a best-selling memoir after my family destroyed me. Now my sister, ex-husband, and parents are furious I used their real names. Welcome back, family. If you haven't already, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. With that, let's continue today's story. I'm sitting in my therapist's office on a Wednesday afternoon when Dr. Morrison hands me a leather journal. Write down everything, she says gently. Not for anyone else. Just for you. I've heard this before. Journaling, meditation, self-care. The typical advice for someone rebuilding their life from ashes. But something felt different that day. I was 34 years old, divorced, living in a studio apartment, working part-time at an insurance company. My family had spent my entire childhood telling me I was the problem. Too sensitive. Too ambitious. Too loud. Too black, too proud, too difficult to control. By the time I was 28, married to Marcus, a man my mother had chosen because he came from a good family, I was suffocating in the life they'd constructed for me. He controlled my finances, monitored my phone, and my family never questioned it. They praised his authority over me. That first night I wrote everything. Page after page of memories that had been buried so deep I'd almost convinced myself they weren't real. The way my father used money as a weapon to keep me compliant. How my mother undermined every dream I mentioned. My older sister Keisha's calculated betrayals, always reported back to our parents for financial favors. Writing about Marcus's escalating jealousy made my hands shake. The time he deleted my college transcripts because he didn't want me forgetting my place. The night he held my wrist so tightly it bruised, whispering, "No one else will want you anyway." I wrote for hours, pages bleeding into the night. And something shifted inside me, not healing yet but waking up. Like my soul was finally gasping for air after decades underwater. "I think I need to write a book," I told Dr. Morrison the next week. She smiled knowingly. "I was wondering when you'd say that." The journal grew into something consuming. Every evening after work, I'd return to my quiet apartment and type furiously, my fingers racing to capture years of manipulation, emotional abuse, and systematic control. The word count climbed, 50,000 words, then 100,000. Each chapter felt like excavating a wound that needed exposure to truly heal. My best friend Tanya was the first person who believed in this project. We met for coffee at a corner cafe near my apartment, and I nervously handed her the first 50 pages. "This is raw," Tanya said, tears streaming down her face after reading. "Girl, this needs to be published." "My family will never forgive me," I whispered. "They never forgave you for existing authentically," Tanya replied sharply. "That's not your problem to solve anymore." I met Agent James Chin through a writing workshop, a tall, quiet man in his 50s who'd helped launch dozens of memoirs. When I pitched my story in his office, hands trembling, he leaned back in his chair and listened intently. "This is important," he said finally. "But here's what I need to know. Are you prepared for the fallout? When you write this truth, people who benefited from your silence will fight back harder than you can imagine." I nodded, though I didn't truly understand the weight of that warning. The book took shape over 18 months. Every chapter was a conversation with my younger self. The scared girl who believed she was the problem, the teenager who internalized her mother's criticism as gospel, the woman who nearly died inside a marriage she never chose. I named it Silenced, How My Family's Control Nearly Destroyed Me. But James suggested something more powerful. Theirs to Break, a woman's journey from erasure to reclamation. When he sold it to a mid-sized publisher for a modest advance, I cried alone in my apartment for hours. Not tears of pure joy, tears of terror mixed with liberation. Because I knew what was coming. I'd used their real names, real dates, real incidents. I hadn't hidden anything. The contract specified publication in 6 months. 6 months until everything changed. My mother called 2 weeks after the book's official announcement. Her voice was controlled, but I heard the tremor underneath. "Sweetheart, I heard you're writing something. Perhaps you should focus on more positive memories. Your publisher would probably prefer something less divisive. Less divisive. Translation: less truthful." "I'm fine, Mama," I said quietly. "Don't do this to our family." We've been through enough. Everyone at church respects us. Everyone at the community center knows your father's work. Think about the legacy you're damaging. There it was, the same manipulation, the same guilt-tripping that had controlled me for 34 years. But now I could see it clearly. I'm thinking about my legacy, I replied, and I hung up. Keisha's text came 3 days later. Call me. Mom's having anxiety attacks. Dad's barely eating. You're being cruel for attention. My sister. The woman who'd testified against me in my custody mediation with Marcus. The woman who'd told my parents about my abortion, leading to weeks of religious condemnation. The same sister I'd protected countless times, only to have her weaponize my secrets. I didn't respond. Then came the official family meeting, arranged by my father and commanded with his typical military precision. Sunday dinner at their house. Mandatory attendance. When I hesitated, my younger brother DeAndre called individually. Just come. Hear them out. Please. DeAndre was different. He'd left for college and never bought into the family system. He became a social worker, spent his life helping people escape exactly what our family had inflicted on me. But even he couldn't shield me from what happened that Sunday. I drove toward their house, the 5-bedroom colonial where I'd spent my childhood learning to make myself smaller. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my palms hurt. In the driveway, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, breathing. I could hear Marcus's voice in my head. You're so selfish. Nobody else acts like this. I pushed it away. I went inside anyway. My father stood up the moment I entered the dining room. Tall, imposing, his suit expensive and sharp as his words had always been. My mother sat rigidly at the table, eyes red. Keisha leaned against the counter, arms crossed. DeAndre gave me a sympathetic nod. We need to discuss this book before you ruin our lives. My father started without preamble. That's not why I'm here to discuss anything, I said, voice steady despite my racing heart. Don't be smart with me. He pointed his finger, the same gesture that had terrified me as a child. Your mother tells me you've named people. Named situations. You're airing family business like a fool. I've told the truth, I corrected. My mother's voice cracked. Honey, we're your family. We've always loved you. This feels like betrayal. You loved who you wanted me to be, I said, feeling something break open inside my chest. That wasn't love. That was control. Every decision about my life was made by you and Daddy. My college choice. My career. My marriage. We guided you, my father's voice rose. That's what parents do. You destroyed my life, I said quietly. You married me off to a man who abused me. You didn't believe me when I told you what he was doing. And when I finally left, you made me feel like I was the one failing. Keisha laughed. A harsh, bitter sound. Oh, so now it's our fault you made bad choices? You're 34, grown. Stop blaming us for your problems. I looked at my sister, truly looked at her. And I saw the fear underneath her cruelty. She was afraid of what this book would reveal about her own complicity. The book talks about what you did, I said directly. How you reported every private thing I told you back to our parents. How you lied in custody mediation. How you benefited from keeping me trapped. She paled. My father slammed his hand on the table. You will not publish this book. We are giving you an ultimatum. Withdraw this manuscript from publication, or you are no longer welcome in this family. You have 1 week to decide. The words hung in the air like a physical thing. 1 week. My entire family or my voice. My entire family or my truth. I stood up slowly. I already decided, I said. I'm publishing it. Before I could fully process my family's ultimatum, Marcus called. He'd somehow heard about the book, probably through the family grapevine, and his voice on the phone made my skin crawl. I'm coming to get what's mine, he said without greeting. I don't have anything of yours, I replied, pressing my phone closer to my ear, already walking toward my bedroom where I kept important documents. My entire life is in that book. You're making me look like the villain. I'm considering legal action. My stomach dropped. Legal action meant lawyers, court dates, the possibility of this becoming even more public, more chaotic. But I'd been warned about this too. Everything in that book is factual. It's documented. You can't sue the truth, Marcus. There was a pause, that dangerous silence I'd learned to fear during our marriage. No one will ever believe you over me, he finally said softly. That's what terrified him. That this book would be believed. That people would see him for what he was. They already are, I said. He showed up at my apartment the next morning. When I saw his car from my window, I called 911 immediately, then texted Tanya and DeAndre my location. By the time he knocked, I'd opened my door only enough to see him, kept the chain lock secured. This isn't over, he said, jaw clenching. For me it is, I replied. The police arrived before anything escalated, and they walked him back to his car with the standard warnings. As they left, the lead officer turned to me. Documentation helps. For future incidents. Make sure you're keeping records. Future incidents. Like this was just the beginning. It was. The publication date arrived on a cold Thursday in November. I held the first copy in my hands. My story bound and real and permanently released into the world. The cover featured a silhouette of a woman standing in light, breaking free from shadow. It felt like birth and death simultaneously. The launch party was small, 50 people in a bookstore downtown. Tanya, DeAndre, a handful of coworkers, some people from therapy groups and women's shelters where I'd volunteered. Real people who'd loved me through the rebuilding. No family. But the book didn't stay small for long. A reviewer from a major publication read it and wrote a front-page feature. Silenced. The memoir that breaks the stigma around family abuse in Black communities. Suddenly, bookstores couldn't keep it in stock. Online pre-orders tripled. I appeared on 3 podcasts in a single week. Then Keisha did something I didn't expect. She posted a video on social media, tearfully claiming I'd exaggerated everything, that I was an unreliable narrator, who'd always been dramatic, that the family had been nothing but supportive and loving. But here's what made it devastate me. She wasn't just defending them. She was speaking about her own children now, my niece and nephew, saying how embarrassed they were, how their friends had seen the book and teased them. She'd weaponized my relationship with them. Comments flooded her post. Poor Keisha. Family over everything. Some people are just ungrateful. I hadn't mentioned my niece and nephew in the book. I'd protected them deliberately. But now they were being pulled into this narrative where I was the villain anyway. My phone rang that evening. It was my brother-in-law, Marcus's friend from college. Someone who'd witnessed Marcus's control firsthand and had quietly supported my leaving. I just wanted you to know, he said quietly, your family is saying you're mentally unstable. Your father's telling people you're on medication for bipolar disorder. Your mother keeps correcting him. Schizophrenia, actually. They're trying to discredit you. I sat in silence, processing. They were making me insane retrospectively. Rewriting history so that anything I claimed could be dismissed as delusion. Thank you for telling me, I finally whispered. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry you have to fight this alone. After we hung up, I wrote in my journal, they're not just angry about the book. They're terrified that people might believe me instead of them. So they're making me unbelievable preemptively. 3 weeks into the book's viral success, I received an unexpected text from a number I didn't recognize. It's Keisha. I need to talk to you. Alone. Not at Mama and Daddy's. Every instinct told me it was a trap. But there was something in the phrasing, not at Mama and Daddy's, that suggested she wanted to speak outside their control. We met at a coffee shop across town. Keisha looked exhausted. Her usually perfect box braids were messy and she wore glasses instead of her typical contacts. She looked smaller somehow. I can't do this anymore, she said without preamble, tears already falling. The lying. The pretending. What are you talking about? I asked carefully. Everything in your book, she said. It's true. All of it. I know it's true because I lived it too. My breath caught. Daddy controlled my life the exact same way he controlled yours, she continued, voice breaking. He chose my first husband. When I wanted to leave, he told me I'd shame the family. When I finally did leave, he gave me an ultimatum just like he gave you. But I caved. I came back. I became what they wanted because I was too scared to be like you. Keisha. Let me finish, she said urgently. I testified against you because Daddy paid my mortgage that month. My house was going into foreclosure and he offered to save it if I helped him discredit you in custody court. I chose money over my sister. I've been living with that for 5 years. Tears streamed down her face now and I could see the genuine anguish. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because the book is making people talk, she said. My therapist read it. She pointed out everything that's happening to me, everything I've accepted as normal. And yesterday my 15-year-old daughter asked me, Mom, why do you let Grandpa tell you what to do? And I realized I'm raising her to accept exactly what we accepted. I'm perpetuating it. She reached across the table, hand trembling. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. And for a moment, just one moment, I believed her. I felt the possibility of healing, of sisterhood reclaimed. I reached for her hand. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your sister is taping this conversation. Check her purse if you don't believe me. My body went cold. Take your phone out, I said quietly. What? Your phone. Show me. Keisha's face changed. The vulnerability drained away, replaced by something calculated and cruel. She stood up abruptly. You don't trust me? She asked, but her voice had shifted too, back to the hard, performative edge. Show me your phone. She grabbed her purse instead, and as she did, I heard it, the telltale audio recording app still running. Someone had warned me. Someone from our family had reached out to tell me this was a setup. You were recording me, I said flatly. You came here to get me on tape admitting to lying about the book. To get me to recant my story. You don't understand the pressure we're under. Stop, I interrupted. Just stop. I stood up and suddenly the coffee shop, once a safe, neutral space, felt suffocating. Other customers were starting to notice our escalating voices. A woman a few tables over was recording us on her phone. This was calculated, I said quietly. You were sent here to do this. Nobody sent me anywhere, Keisha protested, but her eyes darted away. I pulled out my own phone and opened the voice memo app, hitting record. I'm documenting this conversation, I said clearly for the recording. My sister Keisha was wearing a recording device to capture my statements. She admitted to lying in court for money. That admission was part of a setup orchestrated by my parents to discredit my memoir. Stop being dramatic. This is the behavior I described in Theirs to Break, I continued, still recording. Calculated manipulation. Weaponizing family intimacy. Creating false vulnerability to extract information for use against me. This is exactly what my family does. Keisha's face went hard. The tears were gone. Now she just looked angry. You think you're so smart, she hissed. You think publishing that book makes you special. Superior. You destroyed this family for profit. You exploited every private moment we ever shared. I told the truth. Your truth, she spat. Your version. Well, guess what? This video is going to so many people. Our parents' friends. Your coworkers. Everyone. And we're going to show the world how unstable you really are. She left before I could respond. I sat alone in that coffee shop, phone still recording, feeling the full weight of what I'd done. I'd published the truth. And my family was now engaged in an all-out war to bury it and bury me along with it. The woman who'd been recording us approached as I was gathering my things. I got everything, she said quietly, showing me her phone. The recording, both of you standing up, her leaving. I'm a legal advocate. This is evidence of a coordinated harassment campaign. If you need it for anything, contact me. She handed me her card. Margaret Chin, family law advocate. I held that card like it was a lifeline. The video Keisha released was devastating in its manipulation. It showed me looking angry, raising my voice, while she looked increasingly calm and victimized. It was edited perfectly, my harsh words preserved, her cruel ones removed. The audio cut off right before I revealed she was recording me. Within 6 hours, it had 50,000 views. The comments were brutal. No wonder her family doesn't support her. She's clearly unstable. Some people weaponize trauma. Why would a real victim be so aggressive? I didn't recognize the internet's ability to rewrite reality in real time. I'd underestimated how a single edited video combined with my family's coordinated narrative could reshape my story entirely. My publisher called, concerned. The publicity is still good, she said carefully, but the personal attacks are escalating. We're considering a security consultation for the book tour. Security consultation. For talking about abuse. That's when the attacks became physical. Someone slashed my car tires. Hate mail arrived at my apartment. Vile, racist, gendered language suggesting my family had weaponized the worst parts of the internet against me. A woman approached me in a grocery store and spat at me, whispering, "Ungrateful daughter." DeAndre insisted I move in with him. His apartment became my sanctuary, a place where my family's reach couldn't quite touch me. He'd left long ago, built a completely different life. He was proof that escape was possible. "This is temporary," he assured me. "The noise will die down. Truth has a longer arc than lies." But it didn't die down. It intensified. My father went on a local radio show, one that my company's CEO apparently listened to, and gave an interview about how I'd abandoned my family, betrayed them publicly, lied for profit. He was calm, collected, sorrowful. The perfect victim telling his story. The interviewer seemed sympathetic. My CEO called me into her office the next morning. "This is purely a business decision," she said, not meeting my eyes. "The negative publicity is affecting morale. We're going to transition you out." They didn't fire me. They transitioned me out. But the result was the same. Unemployment, loss of health insurance, financial instability. Right when I needed stability most. I sat in DeAndre's apartment that evening, staring at the wall. I'd published my truth, and my family had systematically destroyed my employment, my reputation, my financial security, and my relationships with everyone still connected to them. But, and this was the part that surprised me, I didn't regret it. "You know what's insane?" I said to DeAndre, who was making me tea. "I'm broke. I'm being harassed. My family's declared war on me. And I still feel freer than I did when I was compliant." DeAndre sat beside me, wrapping the blanket around my shoulders. "That's the part they don't understand," he said quietly. "Freedom costs more than servitude. But it's worth it." 7 months into the book's release, my mother tried to reach out. Not through text or email, too traceable. She somehow got my work phone number. I'd left the job, but apparently she didn't know that, and left a voicemail. "Honey," she said, her voice different, softer, more vulnerable than I'd heard it in years. "I've been thinking a lot about what you wrote. About your childhood. And I want to understand. Can we talk? Just us. I'm tired of fighting." My hand shook listening to it. This was what I'd wanted for so long. Acknowledgement, understanding, and opening toward reconciliation. I called her back that evening, my heart in my throat. "Hi, Mama," I said quietly when she picked up. "Sweetheart," she breathed. "I'm so glad you called. I've missed you so much. Can you come home? Just for dinner? Your father doesn't have to be there if that makes you uncomfortable." My first instinct was yes. Yes, I would come. Yes, I would try. Yes, I would do the work of forgiveness and healing. But then I paused. "Why now?" I asked carefully. There was a beat of silence. "The book sales are declining," she said finally. "We heard there's a Hollywood producer interested in adapting it into a film. We think if we reconcile publicly it might actually boost interest. Show that family healing is possible." And there was. "Mama," I said, voice steady, "you want to use my reconciliation for publicity. That's not what I—" "No," I interrupted. "I heard what you said. You heard the film deal might increase the book's profile, so suddenly you want to reconcile publicly. That's not reconciliation. That's strategy. Sweetheart, that's not fair. I do love you. But yes, if we could be together again it would benefit everyone, including you. Why are you always so determined to suffer alone?" "Because reconciliation requires actual change," I said quietly. "And you're not asking to change. You're asking me to come back so you can control the narrative again. I'm your mother. I will always be your mother. We made mistakes, but we did the best we could. No, I said, and my voice broke. No, you didn't do the best you could. You chose control over love every single time. You're still choosing it now. You're still trying to manage my story, my choices, my life. So what? You're just going to cut us out forever? Your father's blood pressure. Stop, I said firmly. I don't owe you my health in exchange for my voice. I'm done apologizing for telling the truth. I hung up. And then I cried, not for what I'd lost but for what I'd finally claimed. The Hollywood deal went through 6 months later. A director named Michaela Washington, a brilliant black woman filmmaker, bought the rights to adapt my memoir. But here's what surprised me. She wanted to honor the real story, not soften it. She flew to meet with me and we talked for 8 hours straight about family, trauma, healing, and justice. The dangerous thing about this story, Michaela said, is that it's too real. It's too close to the bone for a lot of people. They're going to attack it. They're going to attack you. They already are, I said. I know, she replied. But when this film releases, it's going to be bigger. National. International. Your family will see themselves portrayed on screen. So will everyone else who knows them. The film took 2 years to make. During that time, I finally got the job I'd always wanted, working for a nonprofit that supported survivors of domestic abuse. The irony of my career path wasn't lost on me. I went from running insurance operations to using my own recovery as a foundation for helping others. The film premiered at a major festival. I wasn't allowed to attend. My security team advised against it, but Tanya live-streamed it to me and I watched my story become cinema in real time. It was devastating and beautiful and brutal. Michaela had made me three-dimensional, complex, human. She'd also made my family exactly as they were. People who genuinely believed they were helping while actually perpetuating cycles of control and abuse. The film won the Audience Award. Critics called it essential, unflinching, a masterpiece of surviving. And my family watched all of it unfold from the outside. A year after the film's release, a letter arrived at the nonprofit's office addressed to me. My father's handwriting, shaky in a way I didn't recognize. I wasn't going to open it, Tanya said, handing it to me with caution. But it might be important. Inside, my father's words spilled across 3 pages. I've watched the film 4 times now. Each time I see myself and I hate what I see. I've been in therapy for 2 years. Your mother made me go after the film release. My therapist asked me something I couldn't answer. When did protecting the family become more important than protecting my daughter? I don't have a good answer. I was raised to believe that family reputation mattered more than individual pain. I believed control was love. I believed that my way was the only way. All those beliefs were wrong. I won't ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that I see now. I see what I did. I see what we all did. And I'm trying, very hard, to understand how we got here. Your mother asked me to reach out. DeAndre told her you wouldn't want to hear from us. He was right, probably. But I needed you to know that at least one person in this family is finally seeing clearly. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. And I'm proud of you even though I have no right to be. Dad. I read it 3 times. Then I handed it to Tanya. What do you think? I asked. I think, Tanya said carefully, that people can change. But change doesn't erase what happened. Change doesn't undo the past. I know, I whispered. I wrote back to my father 2 weeks later. Thank you for your letter. I believe you're trying to change. But I need you to understand something. The point of my book wasn't to hurt you or the family. It was to reclaim my own voice. To stop living according to other people's scripts. Reconciliation isn't something I can offer right now. But I can offer something else. I can believe that you're working toward understanding. That's enough for now. I'm still healing. I'm still learning what it means to trust my own judgment. That process doesn't have space for the people who taught me not to trust myself. Maybe someday it will. I don't know. What I do know is that I'm no longer silenced. Your daughter. I never heard from him again. But DeAndre told me later that my father kept that letter. Read it often. Showed it to his therapist. It wasn't reconciliation. It was acknowledgement. And sometimes that's the only closure we get. 3 years after publishing Theirs to Break, I'm sitting in my own apartment, one I own now that I earned through my own work. The film won 3 major awards. The book's been translated into 11 languages. I've received thousands of messages from people saying the story saved their lives, gave them permission to leave, gave them courage to reclaim their voices. But here's what nobody tells you about speaking your truth. The cost is real. I don't have a relationship with my mother. Keisha moved across the country and married someone my family approved of. I heard through DeAndre she's in another controlling relationship and somehow still hasn't connected the dots. Marcus remarried and relocated. My father died last year. Stroke completely unexpected, and I didn't attend the funeral. I'm not sure if I made the right choice, but I made the choice I could live with. There's a boy I could have loved, but he couldn't handle my story being public. There are job opportunities one didn't take because I didn't want to explain my past to new companies. There are friendships that couldn't survive my refusal to be small anymore. The cost of freedom is loneliness sometimes. The cost of truth is rejection from people you never thought would reject you. The cost of reclamation is that you have to actually stay reclaimed. You have to keep choosing yourself when it would be easier to slip backward. But here's what I gained. I gained myself. I gained clarity. I gained the knowledge that my voice matters. I gained a community of survivors who found courage in my story. I gained the ability to help other women recognize abuse when they're in it. I gained the right to exist without apology. Last week, a girl, couldn't have been more than 17, came into the nonprofit asking for help leaving her home. She was terrified, convinced she was being dramatic, wondering if she was overreacting. I recognized that girl. She was me. I gave her a copy of my book. Not as a solution but as a mirror, proof that the feelings she was experiencing were real, that abuse looked the way she thought it looked, that leaving wasn't betrayal. What happens after? She asked me. After I leave? Healing, I said honestly. It's painful and complicated and messy and takes way longer than you think. But you get yourself back. And that's worth everything. She looked at my book, then at me. Did your family ever apologize? She asked. Some of them, I said quietly. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was surviving. The goal was telling the truth. That's enough. I'm now 41 years old. I've been broken and rebuilt. I've fought my family and won in the most complicated way possible, by refusing to fight anymore. I stopped needing them to validate my narrative. I stopped waiting for apologies that might never come. I stopped shrinking my life to fit into their expectations. And I'm still standing. If you're reading this and thinking about publishing your truth, walking away from toxic family, or reclaiming your voice, I want you to know something. It will cost you. Some relationships will end. Some opportunities will disappear. Some people will hate you for refusing to be silenced. But you'll have yourself. You'll have clarity. You'll have the knowledge that your voice matters. For me, that was worth everything. Do you have a story like this? Drop it in the comments. What's the price you paid for your freedom? How did you reclaim your voice?